It remains true that parliamentary procedure is intended to ensure that there is a balance between the government's need to get its business through the House and the opposition's responsibility to debate that business without completely immobilizing the proceedings of the House. Fin de citation.
Unquote. The Speaker must remain ever mindful of the first principles of our parliamentary tradition, which Bourrineau described thus, quote, to protect the minority and restrain the improvidence and tyranny of the majority, to secure the transaction of public business in a decent and orderly manner, unquote.
It matters not that the minority in the 39th Parliament happens to be the government, not the opposition, or that the majority is held by the combined opposition parties, not the government. The Shakespearean quote, "The fault is not in our stars but in ourselves," seems sadly apt in the circumstances. Like all Canadians, and indeed all honourable members, I realise and respect that political exigencies often dictate the strategies adopted by parties in the House. However, as your Speaker, I appeal to those to whom the management of the business of the Parliament has been entrusted, the House leaders and the whips of all parties, to take leadership on this matter, and I ask that they address themselves to the crisis in the committee system that is teetering dangerously close to the precipice at the moment. I ask them to work together to find a balance that will allow the parties to pursue their political objectives and will permit all members to carry on their work. I'm confident that working together in good faith, they can come to an agreement that will return us to the equilibrium that our procedures and practices have been designed to protect. And as your Speaker, I stand ready to lend whatever assistance I can. I would like to thank the honourable member for Mississauga South for having raised the matter.
Secretary to the Minister of Veterans Affairs is arising on a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you do well know, I have had the privilege of sitting in the chair under your tutelage in the past, and it has been a great pleasure to work with you. Yesterday in the House of Commons, there was very unparliamentary language coming from the opposition side of the House. There is a decline, shall we say, in the behavior of this House, and I would implore all members of this House to bear in mind what it is we're sent here to do. If you cannot respect the people who sent you here, I would ask you to respect the chair of this House and the very fine officers who sit at that table. The behavior that is going on in here is deplorable, and normally I probably would not stand to make this comment, but as many of you know, I will not be running again in the next election, and it harms me and hurts me to realize how badly you're being treated, Mr. Speaker.
Very briefly, this is
Mr. Speaker, my CFO entered into a compliance agreement. It was for a local ad. He forgot to add the words authorized by CFO. He entered into a compliance act. This is a smear tactic to try to say that I violated